Doctor and Call comes to you compliments Hills and Valley Pharmacy and the Spice Isle Imaging Center. Good evening again, and welcome to Doctor on Call for another Tuesday evening. It is a pleasure as always to be with you, and of course tonight, as always, we will be sharing with you information that can help you to be a healthier person. All right, Doc is with me as usual, and we're happy to have her. Doc, good evening and welcome again.
Good evening, Grenada. Good evening, Godfrey. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, except my phone crashed. My phone crashed, so I have no form of communication. Except.
Well, we'll be glad, so don't worry. Your drum pan full?
Yeah, actually, I don't usually have water problems.
Yeah, everybody. That's a thing everybody used to say. So. Moving right along, not me.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
I live at the bottom of the rainforest. It always rains. There are times when I don't have water for up to 3 days. That's very new to me. But it is what it is. We learn to adjust and to move on from there.
Definitely. And of course,
it's not business as usual in relation to water. This is one of the great manifestations of climate change, the lack of water. We think that water is going to be eternal. No, it's not. We're going to have to learn ways to harvest water when the rain does come, and to be very judicious in our use of water.
No, definitely. It's very, very important. And those of us who have not come to that realization yet, we probably might be setting up ourselves for a really unpleasant situation. So we need to take stock and do what is necessary now. So last week we had some complications. The network and internet, prevented us from doing our program last week. And again, we do apologize for that, but we're here this week. And of course, last week we wanted to focus on what was really trending, and it still is World No Tobacco Day that happened last week. But nevertheless, this is such a very important issue because tobacco is one of the world leading killers. And so we're going to look at some aspects of that tonight, of course, in the context of wellness, among our young people, especially, and of course, adults as well. We can't forget anyone. Everyone is involved, but wellness among our young people, especially with heavy emphasis on tobacco use. That is very critical because we've seen numbers rising, and there is a cry in many countries in the world. In fact, many young people have come together and do some form of protest, asking governments to protect them from the manufacturers and producers of items that get tobacco out there. In other words, to protect them from tobacco. It's a very serious thing, and it comes in forms, and I know, Doc, this is something that you're very passionate about, and it comes in all different forms: pineapple, cherry, vanilla. They are chocolate. Bubblegum. They are chocolate too. No.
I know. I haven't tried it. I haven't tried that one yet.
You haven't tried it? Have you been trying vanilla and strawberry?
I hear about it, but you want to know if I haven't. I can't do it.
But no, on a very serious.
This is no laughing matter.
No, it's not.
I think that's one of our biggest problems. It is a budding problem, but can we put it in the context of lifespan and how our children's health are affected? Because this takes us smack to the middle of childhood, 10 and up, where we see the use of those instruments. I don't know what else to call them. The countries with money, the companies with money will always fight against people who try to ensure that the people that the world population remains well. And in their bid to make money, first of all, more money, in their bid to enhance people's addictive behaviors, whether it's the salt, sugar, tobacco, or otherwise, they will continue to campaign and look like they're already campaigning in favor and the wellness and choices and rights and all the rest of people, when in truth and in fact, the bottom line is their bank accounts,
right,
or their income. When you look at the lifespan, I always like to start in the uterus with a healthy mother, ready to have a baby. That's the ideal situation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Prepared, taking her, takes her vitamins, exercises, her sugar is fine, her pressure is fine, blah, blah, blah. She takes her folic acid because she wants to know that when she gets pregnant, because your brain is the first thing to be formed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she wants to know that when she becomes pregnant, that her body's in a state where she can enhance or support the development of a normal and preferably a supernormal brain in this offspring that she's going to give. So using her folic acid, which also get eating leafy green vegetables, and just taking very good care of herself, good dental health and all the rest is very important for a woman, not only who plans to have a child, but who is actually pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Our laws in Grenada actually state that you must be born in an approved institution.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a lady who helps people have baby, the person who really, you can't say, look, Miss Jane, she's to give birth 40 years now, right? And she's had healthy babies. You can't decide you're not going to hospital and call Miss Jane unless you really can't get to the hospital. Miss Jane is there. She's a second choice. But you have to call the village wife to deliver, people who are trained and who can recognize if there are any complications so that they can send the mother in labor to a hospital or a birthing center. Because it's so small, most of our women go to hospitals, which are relatively close, accessible. A baby, every child should be born in an approved, scientific-based institution. So even if it's a birthing center, it must be approved by the Ministry of Health, by the government. And the person who is going to deliver this baby must be certified, must be credentialed, must have the papers to say, yes, she can or he can deliver babies. That's it. And this is in a quest to make sure that the mortality or the sicknesses, the complications around newborns, birth, and the complications around their early childhood, very, very early childhood, infancy, the challenges are less. Okay? So that is why it's important that women go to the doctor once they suspect they're pregnant, which be after you miss a period. That's a good suspicion enough, especially for women who are sexually active. Ideally, it would be nice if you can have 15 antenatal visits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that by the time you get on to the end, you have weekly. Start up bi-weekly and then weekly, right? So you're properly managed. And why is it important? It's important that if you are having elevated blood pressure or sugar, there's a possibility that you'll have a fetus, a baby that's small, you'll have a fetus that fails to grow. Right? There are other reasons why babies fail to grow, because they don't have proper exchange of oxygen and food at the level of the placenta, etc., etc. So if you go into the clinic and nurse sees that your tummy is, this is 16 centimeters, which it should be at 4 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back in a month time and it's still at 16 centimeters, that's a cause for alarm. Right? That's a cause. So let me send it for the specialist. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's do some ultrasounds. Let's see what are the challenges. We know that today in the big world that people are diagnosing problems from the uterus. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do surgery, fix a baby's spine, fix a baby's heart while he's still in his mother's womb. And that is in the case. If the doctor can only know if you go to the doctor if something is wrong. Okay, so let's try as much as possible and ensure that our antenatal care, the care before you give birth, is the best it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's free at the health center. The other things you want to make sure, check for sugar, because a mother who develops diabetes during pregnancy, or what we call gestational diabetes, will have a very large baby. And sometimes at birth, because this baby has all the sugar around,
mm-hmm.
when he comes out, his own insulin makes his sugar drop, and he can have very low blood sugar and can actually have brain damage as a result of that. So you need to know all of these things.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
we need to screen for things like HIV and sickle cell. We know that now you can prevent mother-to-child transmission of HIV, so we don't have to have children who live with HIV or who are born with the disease and have to live with it and have medications and have the other challenges. You want to know whether the mother has sickle cell, and if she does the partner, the father, the alleged father, whoever she says the father is, whether he also carries the gene, whether she has full-blown sickle cell, God forbid, and what care she needs to ensure that she has a safe and healthy delivery and a healthy baby. So those are lots of things, because we actually screen for sickle cell at birth. Okay? We screen for sickle cell at birth, even if the mother is negative. Remember, you also have a father. If the mother were positive, the father would probably already be screened. And then if both your parents are positive, you stand a 75% chance of being even a carrier of sickle cell. But we need to know that, because it has challenges for the child. A child with full-blown sickle cell disease has challenges in his early life and beyond. Okay, we need to know. So if you choose to let Miss Jane deliver your baby at home, your child may not get his sickle cell screen unless somebody insists and makes sure that you go. But if you're in a hospital, it's routine. This baby needs to get his sickle cell screen. There are other things we probably can screen for, but certainly sickle cell. This baby also gets his first shots. His hepatitis B shots before leaving the hospital. Okay, so there are things that we do from at birth to ensure that wellness and prevention of disease is already being taken care of. The other thing is breastfeeding. If you go to antenatal care, some women just automatically want to breastfeed. We tend to think that, if I breastfeed, that's going to happen to my breast. Trust me, it's going to happen to your breast anyway, so I might as well breastfeed. At least you have an excuse, right? If you're going to have why do we want to breastfeed? We want to breastfeed because, that yellow thing, and most people have seen it, that yellow thick thing that comes out, those called the colostrum, that comes out of the mother's breast, has a lot of protective components within it, okay? Especially proteins for building the brain, for ensuring that the baby's brain gets proper nutrition. Right? It is very important. Remember, when a baby is born, he hasn't confronted any of the diseases. He might get a little immunity from his mother, who may have had chickenpox, or she may have had measles or something. But after a while, that goes. So you want to build up this baby's immune system when he's born, right? Breastfeeding is it? No. Grenada has actually signed on to the World Health Organization convention of baby-friendly hospitals. And since all of us are going to be born in the hospitals, so we wanted a place that's friendly, breast-friendly hospital, right? So all mothers are expected to breastfeed. Can all mothers breastfeed? Not necessarily, but most mothers can. 90%+ of women can actually breastfeed. There's no milk sitting there waiting, so you really have to put the baby to latch on and stimulate the production and the downloading, the letting of the milk. So all of these things should be taught to the mothers who go to antenatal clinics, so you know what to expect. Okay, you know what is expected, what is expected of you once you've given birth to a baby, right? Things like having postpartum depression, which can actually affect how you take care of your baby. And we've known of cases. Remember the Andrea Yates situation in the U.S., where she drowned her 5 children?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. This was a woman who had postpartum depression and 5 babies quickly. That didn't help. She drowned them all. We've known of babies who suffer fatalities because of the challenges with the mother's mental health. So all of these things are things we want to make sure, because you don't want a baby to be dead from his born and there's nothing really physically wrong or mentally or otherwise wrong with him. Why does a baby die because his mother is unwell? That's not fair, okay? And we also want to ensure that the mother is in a state of mind where she can enjoy the baby from beginning. You know, pregnancy is sometimes frightening, deliveries can be harrowing. But once a baby is born, there should be that comfort and the support that a woman requires. So all of those situations must be created for her during the antenatal period, so she can fall back into place. In places like Turkey, where the mother does nothing except get pampered and massages and all the rest of it for months, and among the Jewish populations, where they have nurses who come in and help take care of the baby. You know, we kind of batter on our own with the support we get from our families or spouses. Is there a paternity leave in Grenada?
I'm not sure about paternity leave. I'm not sure. I need to. Yeah.
But that's one of the things that we can look for legislatively, so that you can have a place of peace, right? And that our babies are not exposed to all the trauma of the fighting and the anxiety and whatever it is that happens between parents when a baby is born. So it's important. Remember that early trauma can cause a lot of mental health challenges down the road. Okay? Childhood trauma. And it doesn't matter if you're just born or if you're walking around, if you could read and write already. It doesn't. Childhood trauma really is difficult for children. So your child comes, you want your child in a safe environment. You want a child where they don't have holes in the floor and nobody's smoking in the house. And we've spoken about all of this because those are the things that are going to make the child safe. No smoking in the house. Is there clean water? We've had the challenge last week. And maybe we can ask people, how many of you actually boiled your water to make sure that your children had? Some people bought bottled water. But there became a shortage of bottled water even. Okay? How much of us boil our water regularly? Right? How many people had enough water for washing hands and using the bathroom and keeping the house clean? Right? It has been a challenge in the last month in relation to the water. But we have to ensure that the children are not exposed to gastrointestinal infections. And specifically, I know there was a little elevation in the rate of gastroenteritis. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. During the dry season. And that's because we really have to focus. It means we really have to focus a little more on whether or not our children are going to get healthy water to drink. If you're going to cook is one thing. You don't have to boil it before you cook, because if you cook it properly, the water will, it will boil during the cooking process. But certainly water for drinking, water for making tea, water for if you're going to make a cup of tea, certainly you have to boil the water properly. If you're making juice to put in the fridge, marby, whatever it is, you ought to have clear water that has been boiled and void of bacteria and other unicellular organisms that can cause diarrheal diseases, cause you to have loose belly. Right? But we want our children to be safe, and we want to make sure that our children's nutrition is really cared for, right? Make sure that they eat as much of the homegrown foods. There's been a recent ban on sugar-sweetened beverages in school. That was never followed really, but it makes sense. There's also a taxation on sugar-sweetened beverages, which make them more important and tends to deter the amount of sugar-sweetened beverages that we give to our children. And sometimes these sugar-sweetened beverages come from home where there's not much control, right? right? Remember when your grandma used to make lime juice and she used to make it brackish?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? So you got a lemonade, not very much aided by the sugar. Right? It was just something to refresh you, but sugar was not the main item in there. But a little bit, and it heightens the flavor, yes, but it's not sling. It's not only sugar you're drinking. It's not sugar and water with lemon. It's lemon and water with a little sugar. Do you understand? So, one of the things that bothers me a lot, that I'm really concerned, and we spoke about it in the commission, is the fact that there are children who have nutrition challenges. So we've had a school feeding program. What do they do on the weekends? What do they do on the holidays? Where's that food security sustained, guaranteed? What do children? Yeah, you eat mango. You can't eat mango alone every day in the holidays. I know all mango is going to fall because it start fall. Everybody ripe and drop soon. We have to find a way to ensure that our children have good nutritional, secure food. They know that there is food, but they must have food in the holidays, and they must have food on the weekend when school not cooking food. Right? And there's a relatively large population of our children who do not have that kind of nutritional security. Right? And the little money mommy has, she probably buy some flour, right? And a piece of saltfish and make dumpling and put a saltfish sauce. Or a piece of pigtail and put it in some soup, right? And stretch it as long as possible without a dumpling, or she cook rice with a chicken back. Is that nutrition just full belly food? Because the children still need to have their service of fruit and vegetable in the day. So we have to ensure that that part of our children's nutrition is taken care of. And then, of course, there's the issue of safety. And I'm going to put all children, school age and otherwise, am I safe? Recently, we've had an increase in gun violence. How is my child who lives in a community where there was a shooting? Did he hear the gunshots? How does he feel? Is he scared? Can he go to school tomorrow? Is it somebody in his household? What is it? Okay? Is my girl child free to take a bus in the morning without being harassed and touched by people who work on the bus or share the bus as she goes along to school? Can she come home to a safe environment where nobody's peeping at her in the bathroom, where nobody wants to touch her or him? Okay? That kind of psychological safety as well. That whole thing, that sexual safety that the children need to do. Is my girl child, and mother a victim of gender-based violence? That creates instability in our homes, right? And we see children act up, and do we have the services? Do we have the services that will take care of them? Now, and I want to talk here about tobacco. And I want to talk about tobacco because companies like Philip Morrison Company, those that we call big tobacco, that make all the tobacco products that we've known. What they didn't make, they buy. And so they bought it out, and you had these big conglomerates, these big companies, right? These oligarchs, right? Who had controlled the market for tobacco. Can we ban tobacco? No, we cannot ban tobacco because this is part of global trade and there are laws that govern what you do. However, we need to protect our population. Recently, and we've spoken about this is probably the fourth time we're speaking about this in this environment, the issue of vaping. And while our children are not overtly smoking, and while the law says that it is illegal to procure, to provide anybody under 18 with tobacco, there are children as young as 10 and some under who have been using these products of inhaling. You talked about taste. You talked about flavors. Inhaling these from these vapes. We've seen people using hookah where they inhale whatever is put in there, but it's all at the base of nicotine. Nicotine is one of the most addictive substances in the world. And while our children are going to use their vapors today, much to their detriment physically, there's nicotine in there, and when they smoke their first cigarette, they will be buying cigarettes. So these companies, what they do is set our children's mind to this level of physical dependency on nicotine. Yeah, it tastes like bubblegum, but you're not really inhaling bubblegum because that's not bubblegum in water. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's not strawberry flavor in water. That's not, what is it? Cocoa? Chocolate? Well, not good at a chocolate certainly, but that's not none of those flavors in water. They are in a nicotine base. So, the electronic cigarettes, which is a variety of how this nicotine is delivered, well, actually, they were developed to help people who are getting off their smoking habits. Right? They were to help people who are getting off their smoking habits. That's what it was. So you smoked, you inhaled nicotine, because that's what you crave in tobacco. You inhale tobacco, and then you did it. You cut it down, right? Just like we were talking about 2 weeks ago. We were talking about people who use other narcotics, like not cocaine, the other one. Tell me, I never remember. All right. People who on narcotic substances are given substitutes that function a little differently, but that you can control how much is delivered. So while they get the high, you decrease the consumption over time until the dependency disappears. That addiction and that dependency on the subject, on the compound, the chemical, disappears from their minds, from their bodies. Okay? So there's a lot of counseling. What we've been doing is using this as a habit. So we have a new habit, right? A new addiction to these vapes. When you give my 10-year-old, or when my 10-year-old acquires a vapor, right? Look at the thing, it looks very benign. It could look like a pen. It can look like your flash drive. They have different ways of delivering. And there are people who sell it, and you're going to see it. And I want parents to talk about it, because when Carnival comes, they're going to put on the trucks that they didn't carry a coup, right? Promoting the use of these vapors. That is not something that our children need. That is not something that we want our children to have. I hope people are going to talk about it. I hope I hear the church talking about it. I hope I hear human rights groups talking about it. I hope I hear civil society organizations. I hope I hear principals talking about it. I hope I hear teachers. I hope I hear parents. I hope I hear everybody who's interested in the well-being of our children talking about the proliferation of vapors in our community. And some parents say, oh no, it's just that, please. First of all, this thing is heated up and taken to your lungs. So I'm sorry, I had some popcorn, but I finished. Yeah? So instead of your lung looking like a nice soft, that's how we know lung looks. The alveoli get broken, and so they start to look like popcorn. They don't look healthy anymore. A lot of the air pockets that we have in the units of respiration, the alveoli, are broken. So you have them pop, and then you have one big one, which cannot do what is required. And the children who have been the young adolescents, 16, 17, people who have been sitting waiting for a lung transplant, will tell you, are those who are on constantly oxygen, can't walk from the one end of the dining table to the other, right? Can't walk from the bedroom to the bathroom. That's an ensuite bathroom. Will tell you, leave that thing alone, because it damages your lung tissue, right? And so apart from the physical damage, it also delivers nicotine. What does nicotine do? Nicotine is addictive, right? But nicotine hardens your arteries. So what would we see? Or children with elevated high blood pressure very early? Will we see children with strokes? Maybe we will, right? Or we see younger people having strokes and dying. We're certainly going to see people with heart problems, and we're certainly going to see people with severe breathing problems. As it is now, we don't have sophisticated means of maintaining people's health. If you need to have physiotherapy, there's not even enough physiotherapists on island. To be on constant oxygen is a very, very expensive thing. Ask the older people who have had emphysema, who have had whatever challenges, cancer, whatever, who have to use an oxygen. What does it cost? It costs a mint. And so we can talk, and we would have spoken last week about World No Tobacco Day, which was that same day, right? No tobacco. But we have to go beyond tobacco, because we haven't reached there in a lot of cases. We have to talk about No Vaping Day, No Electronic Cigarettes Day, and not just day, life, right? It must be something that has to be emphasized in our children every day, that this is not good for us. Go figure this out. If we're going to have a younger population that has all these complicated illnesses, who's going to produce? What's going to happen to our social security system? What's going to happen to the whole productivity of our country when we allow our children to almost smoke from so very young?
So, Doc,
Okay.
On that note, I want to just share a bit of information because it is so very important, and it is based on stats from the World Health Organization. All right?
Share the stats.
And here are the key facts. Tobacco kills up to half of its users who don't quit, and that is between 1 to 3 persons. Tobacco kills more than 8 million people each year, including an estimated one. And this is and let me just pause to see this. What I'm going to read now, it is so important that we pay attention. We need to hear this, folks. We need to hear this. Tobacco kills more than 8 million people each year, including an estimated 1.3 million non-smokers who are exposed to second-hand smoke.
And tertiary.
Around 80% of the world's 1.3 billion tobacco users live in low and middle income countries, which means we are included. In 2020, 22.3% of the world's population used tobacco.
So that's quarter.
Yes.
Almost.
36.7% of men and 7.8% of women. All right? Tobacco is referred to as an epidemic and is one of the world's biggest public health threats the world has ever faced, killing over 8 million people a year around the world. Hear this? More than 7 million of those deaths are the result of direct tobacco, while around 1.3 million are the result of non-smokers being exposed to second-hand smoke. All forms of tobacco, listen that, all forms of tobacco, and we're talking here about tobacco use, is harmful, and there is no safe level of exposure to tobacco. So all of the fancy things that is camouflaged
is bad.
Is bad. There is no safe level. So I just thought I should just include that, Doc, because I think it's very, very important. And as we go on, there are more very interesting readings. And as I said, it's from the World Health Organization, and that kind of information is research based. So we're not guessing here. This is not guess.
We have the numbers to back it up.
Definitely.
Yes.
So, you were talking about the vaping, Doc. And so,
yeah, which for me is a nightmare. Because people think it's so innocuous, it smells nice, but it's really the beginning of a really noxious, poisonous, toxic habit that can lead to death and lead to premature death. It will, because we have seen young people who have been dead from this. I know Trinidad, for their carnival, had the trucks out, the big panel trucks advertising, and I heard there was one in Carriacou, during Carriacou Carnival. And we'll see them at our carnival, which is, 2 months away? Yeah. Right? We will see them at our carnival, which is 2 months away, provide and tell you, yeah, this is good for you. No, it's not. No, it is not. I heard someone said they had an altercation with a parent. Well, they had an intervention that didn't go very well. They were talking, and the person was very defensive of the 10-year-old using a vapor. very, very defensive. And it's simply because I'm not critiquing the parents. It's simply because we don't understand. I don't want to touch this subject because it was dealt with, but I'm just talking also of cannabis use. We've been having a discussion on the, what's the word? Decriminalization of cannabis. But that sentence is incomplete. Decriminalization of cannabis for medicinal use. This is not the free up where everybody can smoke ganja like they feel like. Remember, there's certain species, okay, have different kind of ganja, right?
Yep.
That have more THC, which is the active substance, and which have different quality of THC, of the cannabinoids, which is what are used. Remember that the cannabinoids that are used are usually ingested. Medicines are usually ingested or something that you rub onto you. Smoking is always bad. We said that earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Once you take into your lung air that has color, particle, density, whatever, that's not good for you because you're introducing particles into your lung. Some people say it make them wise. I don't know about that. Okay? Everybody knows, they know. I hope that this is my prayer for the Grenadian population, that the people who are going to bring about the decriminalization, because it's a fight that's going through. I really want us, I know the CMO spoke about it last night, but I really wish that they take on the responsibility of educating the Grenadian people as to what is this difference between legalizing, because we're not legalizing weed, let's get real, right? Of legalizing weed and decriminalizing weed for cannabis for medicinal purposes.
You know, that's a different discussion itself. You know, whenever I hear
because I want to get something else since we're talking about
when I hear about cannabis for medicinal purposes, I wonder because we seem to be talking a lot about that, and I don't hear anything about our capacity to extract the medicine from it, but that's a different.
I'm not worried about that.
That's a different discussion.
I think we have enough scientists around. What I would like us to have is an educated population that understands, right, the difference between smoking up spliffs and using a cannabinoid to control pain, to control neurological, to kill cancers and all the rest. So I'm saying I hope that our population is informed. Let me tell you why. We have a lot of young people who have access to weed and smoking, and adolescents. So at 14 years old, around 14 is when your brain takes a kind of new kind of turn, right? And you actually develop certain abilities, the ability to make decisions, to the frontal part of your brain, to learn to make decisions, to be rational, to have a discussion and come out with okay, you and I might differ, but let's discuss this and we understand. To be able to control our impulses, right? To be able to control, especially our sexual impulses. That happens around 14. Kids who have been using cannabis do not have that level of thing. They also are a little slower, right? And those are numbers. Those are things that are proven. They also are a little slow when it comes to learning. And we've seen the children who started smoking weed, how they fall back in school, how they become very isolated. And also, if you have the potential for becoming mentally ill, like with schizophrenia or bipolar illness, smoking cannabis might precipitate it and make you become mentally ill earlier, right? And in awful ways that people don't really like to experience. And I'm not saying that it probably wouldn't manifest it, but cannabis might make your child become iller and earlier. So smoking weed is not how you solve problems. That is not how it is. The Jamaicans, for example, did asthma solve, right? Mm-hmm. Asthma is probably 35, 40 years old. just like how you use Ventolin, they use a cannabinoid. Dr. Lowe and his friends extracted the cannabinoid and used it, right? So asthma salt has been on the shelf for a long time. Small quantities, because there's been so much taboo about using cannabinoids for treatments. But asthma salt has worked. Asthmatics have been helped using a puff that has cannabis extract. Okay? But you have to know what you're extracting. And I think, and I'm not worried about the capacity, because we're a small place. We could always send our stuff to get checked, right? We have a produce lab that has significant capacity for testing and stuff. I'm concerned about people's understanding of what this move will be. That's my deepest concern. And I think it's a responsibility of parents. I think it's a responsibility of the committee, the cannabis committee, whatever committee. I think it's a responsibility of the government and it's a responsibility of physicians like myself. I was talking to some of my colleagues today. I think it's a responsibility of the legal fraternity. I think it's a responsibility of parents. I think it's a responsibility of everybody to ensure that our children do not become victims of something that is misinterpreted.
Well, I definitely hope so. But I just want to go back, and I also had done some reading from the Center for Disease and Control, CDC, and they had quite a bit of information on nicotine, and let me add researched information as well. So it says most e-cigarettes or vapes contain nicotine, which has known adverse health effects. Nicotine is highly addictive. Nicotine is toxic to developing fetuses and is a health danger for pregnant people. Acute nicotine exposure can be toxic. Children and adults have been poisoned by swallowing, breathing, or absorbing vaping liquid through their eyes or skin. More than 80% of calls to U.S. poison control centers for e-cigarettes are for children less than 5 years old. Now, this is a concern. Yes, it's in the U.S. It's in the U.S., but we have the vapes are here.
Yeah, everybody has a vape.
Nicotine poses unique dangers to youth because their brains are still developing. Nicotine can harm brain development, which continues until about age 25. Youth can start showing signs of nicotine addiction quickly, sometimes before the start of regular or daily use. Using nicotine during adolescence can harm the parts of the brain that control attention, learning, mood, and impulse control.
That's the frontal lobe.
Yes. Yeah. Adolescents who use nicotine may be at increased risk for future addiction to other drugs. And last but not least, youth who vape may also be more likely to smoke cigarettes in the future. And as I said, all of these things, they are research based. It's not just, in fact, where I'm reading from, the link to the research findings are present. So you can check it out yourself, folks. You can go on the CDC website and all the information is there. So it's very important, and I think it's a reason why we have important World Health Calendar days like World No Tobacco Day. Because these things are not by chance, things have happened, the research is done, the findings are available, and so we need to be paying serious attention to these things. Very serious attention. So we probably need to explain to, especially parents,
But to people, the difference between tobacco and nicotine, okay?
Yes.
So tobacco is tobacco, that thing that comes from a leaf and it's prepared and put in you have it over you want. You put in a Rizla and fold it up and smoke it, use tobacco. Or you can buy a tobacco, what do you call it? Yeah, big tobacco.
Cigarette?
What call the name of the thing?
Cigar?
Yeah?
Cigar?
You have cigarettes, or you can have a cigar. Right? Those are tobacco. Right? But tobacco contains nicotine, which is an addictive component, which makes you want to have another cigarette. Or next one, and the next one. You know those people who light one cigarette with another? So nicotine is a component. Why is tobacco bad? Because tobacco has probably 700 other compounds, right? And most of them lead to cancer. Some of them certainly do lead to us developing cancer. We live in an environment where 1 in 10 of us dies every year, and probably more by now, from cancer. We live in an environment where we don't have a lot of resources. They say we're middle income, but we're more low income than middle income for functional purposes, right? We have one hospital, we have one oncologist, which is a specialist in cancer. We don't have radiation therapy. We hardly have diagnostic facilities, so we can't diagnose. We have one CAT scan at the hospital, which doesn't work all the time. And then we have 2 private ones, or 3, right, which costs. We have 1 MRI, which for the most part is broken down, which is more sophisticated radiologic screening, right? We don't have an ongoing cancer screening program. We don't have the drugs are very expensive, and like I said, we do not have radiation for people who have extensive disease that they want to really just burn out, obliterate. So we're really at a disadvantage. It therefore means that we're going to have to remove all of the things that can lead us to that can be risk factors for developing cancer and other chronic diseases, of course, right? And like I said, those vapors have and the e-cigarettes have nicotine. The intention by the people who sell it is to get our children and our young people addicted so that they will buy tobacco. Because these same companies that bought off all of tobacco are now the ones that Philip Morris and Company almost monopolizes the development and sale, right, of vapors. So it doesn't really matter who had a name on it. They own those companies. They may not have changed the names, but they own most of those companies that provide vapors for their children. Stepping stone towards tobacco use. Only about money and no care. There's no ethical principle guiding this. There's no, I feel sorry for Grenadian children. Let's make sure we don't send any down there. No, there's none. And there's always a concern that people just want to make money. And if there's a market, they will send and they'll tell you there is a market. Children will buy this. They will tell their little friends, let's get one of this. Tastes nice. Without understanding the problem of the nicotine. So nicotine is but one component of the chemicals that you find in tobacco, but it's also a very addictive component aimed at making sure that your children smoke tobacco as they get older.
Yes, indeed. So, Doc, our telephone line has been going. The number is 435-2041. So we are going to take the calls early this evening because we think this is such a very important subject matter. Let's go to a telephone. Doctor on call, good evening.
Hello. A pleasant good night to you, Doc and Augustine.
Yes, good evening.
Oh, Lord, what I pray that one day Allah will come up with this topic. Allah will trying to help people, but people don't want to help themselves. No smoking whatsoever at all is not good. Man does say, oh, I smoking no cigarette because Babylon has cigarette, but I go smoke a joint. Both of them is dangerous. According to the manual you give to marijuana, it develop a high grade of THC. Right? The manual that created THC in marijuana. And
okay.
Yes, and I'll tell you, and I'm glad you brought that up, but when you finish, I'll talk about it.
Yeah, according to what man you feed the weed with, you develop a great amount of THC. Right? Man say, oh, Babylon selling, they're selling the rum, and but that is not no point that they should legalize marijuana for we children and our men and women to smoke. Vaping.
But they are not legalizing marijuana, and that's why I said they need to tell people the difference, right? Because marijuana is never going to be legal for smoking, as far as I know. Because they will allow people to have one or two trees. Well, most countries who have liberalized, decriminalized marijuana, right? But there's not going to be a big trade, and that's going to be another problem. But we'll talk about that.
Let me tell you, during the election campaign, I hear the Prime Minister say he's not decriminalizing, but he will legalizing marijuana. But that's up to him. He do what he wants. He's the boss. No. Children that vaping, when your little children vape, you're preparing them to smoke cigarette and marijuana. And that is very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. Look, rum, when you're drinking rum just gives cirrhosis to your liver, it destroys your liver. And looking for instance, a man go dead today from cirrhosis, and they're burying him tomorrow. When they're burying him,
and they serving rum.
The man who dig in the grave. The men who dig in the grave, remember, they have bottles of rum that kill he to dig their grave. After they don't bury him, in the happy hour, everybody drinking rum. Creating more cirrhosis. I wish the day will come when men stop drinking rum. God have mercy upon us in India.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
Lord, and I wanted to say something about adolescent smoking, and I forgot. Mm-hmm. But I think I liked his thing. There's some things I don't necessarily agree with. I don't know what the Prime Minister said about legalization and decriminalization. But all I'm saying is that those concepts must be clearly defined so that the population is not led down the wrong path. The people who spoke about the ethical constructs did speak about making sure that people know why we're doing this. Okay, why are we developing? Why are we saying let us decriminalize to make for medicine or to take care of ourselves? So let's see what happens. No?
I mean, no, definitely, because I think there are many people, as it relates to this whole cannabis issue, already have the wrong impression. There were talks about legalization during the campaign. There were talks about it. We're hearing a different song now. Yeah. However, I agree with you that people need to be educated. I guess people you can't play with free will. People have a right. People would do what they want to do anyway. But it's important that people are aware. And earlier I was sharing some information from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And even there you can find a lot of information, researched information on the health effects of cannabis. And I just take the key points, which says cannabis use may have a wide range of health effects on the body and brain. There are several risk factors and negative health outcomes associated with cannabis use. Yes. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of information. And I guess, like most things, there are negatives and there are positives. I think what is important is that we wait and we look for positive. We say that we are going to use cannabis for medicinal purposes. We must be in a position where we can actually extract what is good in there so so that it can be used, because I know of people who use it in all kind of different things, and in fact the CDC has made reference to that too. There's been some research on that. In fact, they spoke to unintentional poisoning from cannabis.
Poisoning.
Yeah. So they're saying edibles.
It's in the same light that you might not respond well to a penicillin.
Right.
In the same light that you may need to take a lower dose of an antibiotic or a lower dose of what a child takes for asthma is not the same dose what a mature person takes. What an older person takes is going to be less, etc. So it's not going to be one size fits all. And the truth is, there are different cannabinoids that some may work better for your condition than for another condition.
Yeah.
It also means that it must be not just education of the general public, but education of the people who choose to dispense a substance that's new, right? That has effect on the central nervous system. Because the truth is, in cities where cannabis is available, right, they have seen an increase in bombs. Okay? Yep. There are more people out there because they go seeking cannabis. Not necessarily for medicinal purposes, but they can come and tell the doctor, I have this pain. I as a physician, I'm not able to see pain, touch pain. I have to believe you when you tell me you have pain. And you have to be able to, explain to me so I can figure out, yes, you do have pain and what intensity and what might be the best way forward. Mm-hmm. The point I wanted to raise was the whole THC thing. So one of the challenge they had with marijuana, cannabis as a substance that people smoke. The gentleman spoke about the fertilizer that they use, right? Mm-hmm. Increasing the concentration. So they have GMO, these genetically modified cannabis that has 300 times more, not too sure, but multiple times more cannabis, more THC,
sorry, yeah.
Which is the active component of the cannabinoid in the flower. And we have seen people have psychotic, get crazy, what you call uncontrollable manic, right? Having used, and they say, all I've had is marijuana. All I've had. I've worked in a detox unit, so I can tell you, right? With guys who have been just buying the marijuana off the street, and they tell you it's different from what they used to get 2 years ago because you have these genetically modified cannabis. You have no control over what a guy sells to you on the street. You have no control, because I've seen guys get mentally ill as a result of having smoked these the marijuana cigarettes that have so much THC. Okay, with developing medicines, there are standards that everyone's going to have to meet, right? And it must be uniform and across the board, so that if you got it in Grenada, it must be similar component that you get in Canada, or you get in Venezuela, or you get in Ukraine. Okay, so yes. That's standardization of production, right? We don't want things that are counterfeit. We don't want things that a hurry come up, right? We don't want things that we can't determine exactly which cannabinoid is in here. That kind of stuff. It must be standardized and transparent in order to serve the population well, in the area that is assigned to, but also to make sure that the population doesn't abuse it and that the population doesn't get ill as a result of having used it.
No, definitely. In fact, the CDC continues to say that cannabis use has been linked to social anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia. And that's, but scientists don't fully understand the relationship between the mental health disorders and cannabis use. And therein lies the complication. In fact, the research was done by Richard Smith Jr. And so there's a lot, and I'm saying that to say that, the information is there. The research has been done, and people, just don't, for selfish reasons, think that, okay, we can just do this and do that. You have to be mindful, and you have to look at things from different angles. How is that going to affect me negatively, or how is it going to affect me in a positive way? And these things must be given serious attention. That's your health. That's your life we're talking about. So yes, while we are moving in the direction of decriminalization or the use of cannabis for medicinal purposes, this should not be a rushed thing. We need to do it well, so that the benefits that we are hoping to achieve, we can achieve it, rather than rushing because we hear, well, there is money, and you hear a lot of talk about it can create an economic boost, and so the money seems to be at the forefront, and we have to be careful. Sometimes yes, there is money, but on the other side, the effects it can have can just wipe away all that money in no time at all. Because if there are problems, it is going to create a burden on our health purse, and we have to be mindful about all of these things. So yes, we're moving in that direction. I mean, to each his own, but for the overall well-being of our nation, our people, I don't think it should be rushed. I think what they're doing now with all the consultation and the different sessions where people can ask questions, and I hope they get the scientists who have information, who've done the research, to present it, all sides of it, not just one side, but all sides, so that at the end of it all, we know exactly what we are doing and where we are heading. So I just wanted to put that out there, Doc. So because I like to provide information that is credible, so that there's no question and have people wondering whether the information is, as we say, legit or not. It's important to have good information, and folks, as I said, the information is out there. You can go to the various websites. You have the CDC, the World Health Organization, Healthline, WebMD. These are all very credible sites, because the information there is based on research. So you can definitely take that information and run with it.
So do you think that, how many parents do you think understand the nature of vaping?
I don't think they do. I don't even think some of the people who do it even understand it. I think. And
I don't think a lot of parents know that their children are vaping.
It's highly possible. It's highly possible as well.
Yeah.
But these are things that even the young people need to understand. If you go to in the south of the island, you see a lot of that. You drive by certain establishments and you see those whatever you call them. Yeah, you see those things there, and people go, they sit, they drink, and they have their things, and
they keep in the high.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to look at these things, and just as how we put policies in place for different things. We now have a committee looking at the decriminalization. Why can't we have a committee to ensure that these things are prevented? They're not allowed to happen. So
yeah, and they're going to have to develop within their component, within their establishment, an education committee, and with due respect and all, with a deep sense of responsibility towards the public, the Grenadian public. They have to teach them what the truths are. At the end of the day, people will make decisions, but let them be able to make decisions based on the truth.
Yes.
Informed decision. They make a decision, yeah, I know it's going to make my lungs collapse, but I choose to do this. That's up to you. Okay? But, I didn't know that. Nobody ever told me that it's going to knock my lungs and make it look like a bag of popcorn. Right? So people have to know exactly what are the odds when they make certain decisions. And the only way they can know that is if we put information together in a structured way so that they can
yeah, and you see, it shouldn't be when we move in the direction of educating our people, it should not be something that is done on one side because it suits our purpose. Education is education. I was doing some studies recently, and one of the key points that came out was the most important thing for the future workplace is education. Education and education in all its forms, not just going into a classroom and learning academics, but education in its broadest form. Whatever we are involved in, we need to be educated. We need
to understand.
Definitely. Just as when we come here and we go to the different sites where the research is done and you share information. That's a form of, helping to educate, because we get information, we become knowledgeable of different things, and it helps us to be in a better position. Maybe now that we understand the dangers of vaping, I trust that, parents would pay more attention to the activities of the children, where they go, where the children go, who they go with, what they do when they go out.
Smell of nicotine when they come back.
Exactly.
Because it smells.
All of these things, because, sometimes a lot of these things we don't see the health effects immediately. In fact, one of the I remember last year when we were experiencing all the heat waves, on one of our programs, something that came out was that one of the reasons why the health effects of heat, the extreme temperatures that we're having, is not given so much attention. It's because the impact, the serious impact of it, is not immediate. But down the line, you do have serious effects of that. So there are a lot of things like that, and we need to pay attention. So
one of the concerns I have, and it's not only in relation to nicotine use and vaping and stuff, right? But generally in relation to our adolescent population and making of choice, nutrition choice. So guess what? I want to talk about nutrition so I can give a good example here. Mm-hmm. So you go to daycare and you go to preschool, right? And you're not allowed to bring snacks. Water only, fruits only. And our children are there. And then I go to primary school and mommy give me $5 from a break. What I buy? Right? So our children get a relative amount of independence. But adolescents have a whole lot of independence, because when you go to secondary school, you go convent or you go PBC or St. Assas or wherever, and then you go TAMCC. You have an allowance, probably you have a little job where you have your own money. You can buy what you want. Is what you buy good for you or not? I remember I had a young lady who was going to high school. She probably was like in 4th form. And her mother brought her and she was very concerned. And that a girl wasn't eating. And of course she looked like a suck out blow up dolly. She just looked dry. Mm-hmm. And she was never really a fat child. But she looked healthy. But she just looked dry, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Ask mommy. Well, she's not eating. You know what she had for the day? And that is part of the whole, how her peers were living their lifestyle. Her mother gives her money so she can buy a snack and buy lunch at school. And the school provided decent lunch. You know, they get rice and peas and chicken and a vegetable. It's not bad, okay? She bought, in the morning, they bought a chubby. Right? Was that 6 ounces? They bought a chubby, and they bought a pack of corn curls, the equivalent of corn curls. And they nursed it for the whole day. That's all they ate for the whole of the school days. And then she'd go home and go to her room and do her homework. And mommy'd call and said, come and get your food, girl. Come and get it. Oh, she's not hungry. And then her period stopped and her mother became very concerned. Right? That is adolescents making choices on the day. But they have to learn to make informed choices. We have to help parents and help school, you know, HFLE, whatever, parents, in the church, everywhere. We have to come together to make sure that our young people understand the goodness or the dangers of their practices. And this is for everybody, right? We talk about childhood obesity. People cook food. Mommy cook. What if she decides she's going to cook Kraft macaroni and cheese or the cheap one every day because just easy, just put on the fire and put it in there and stir it up and give the child, right? When it probably take as much time to steam some bananas and eat with some saltfish or eat not in a corned beef that you open and you warm up. Right? For her, it's convenience. Now, so we're going to have to find ways of informing our children how to make this, what is good and bad, and empowering them in the independent states to make informed decisions for their wellness, right? Because they're out there, they're driving cars, they're going to parties, but they're still relatively young people. And we're going to have to remind them, and we're going to have to remind teachers and parents and pastors and everybody to keep emphasizing this. Because if not, our children are going to be in a very bad state as far as their health. You're going to have people who are 15 and 16 and 17 and teenagers at the end of the adolescent life having hypertension and diabetes. We already seen it, but more. If you have hypertension and diabetes for 20 years, your kidneys start failing. So by the time you're 30, 40 on full-time dialysis, who's going to pay for it? What dialysis cost? $3,000 a week? Okay, who's going to pay for it? Or $3,000 a month, whatever it is.
And
I can't see anything that should cost me $3,000, not even rent. So go figure. All right. So we have to be able to inform our children that here are the situations. These must be things that they discuss. Right? Young people must feel free and be informed. We need to support them to be able to discuss the whole thing about how do I eat. How do I drink? Do I drink? Do I vape? Do I exercise? Do you understand? Do I become involved in risky behavior like risky sexual behaviors? Do I get involved in speeding and doing all the crazy things? I saw an accident on the road this evening for a young man. I don't know whether he succumbed, but I saw a picture on the internet. Please do not put up pictures on the internet when there's a victim on the roadside. If you're not going to help him, go to your house. Okay, people they're taking pictures and putting on people dead
this is
it's bad for us. It's bad for us mentally.
I don't understand why people, instead of lending a hand or assisting the individual, you think the important thing is to pull out your phone, take photos and make videos and put it out there.
No, we could take a picture and send to the hospital and say, give me a number, I want to send a picture, or somebody, here, this is the victim on the side. We need some help for him. I can understand that. Do not send it on my social media. Do not send it on my Facebook page. Do not send it on my WhatsApp page. Do not send me these pictures. They're not good for me emotionally. It's not good that our population be looking at negative images. When some of the guys got killed recently, 6 pictures for what? To traumatize me? Yes, I get traumatized by seeing dead people. Believe it or not. Okay? I believe in life. Don't send me that. I do not want the gossip. If I can't help the person, don't send it. Send me a lesion you have that you like me to fix. Send me something else, but don't send that. It's bad for us. And it desensitizes us desensitizes us on the whole issue of what is illness, what is priority, what is empathy, what is sympathy, what is me wanting to help somebody, what is being a good person, right? John dead, you don't see what I should do. Boy, right, they could tell you 1 inch from his, one centimeter from his earlobe, you know exactly where it is, okay? That's not good for us. It's really, really very psychologically bad for us to be looking at negative images. So that's one of the things I want to say. I know young people with their access with their access to all of this, all social media, keep passing these things on and sit and discuss it. Why? It's bad for us health-wise. I looked at how people responded after those reportedly gang-related murders, and people are outright scared. It is something to be afraid of. I lived in an environment where I saw I could, like, here, leave my door open and go wherever I want, right? And then watched it become the crime center of the Caribbean and up second in the world to South Africa when it came to murder, or probably second world to South Africa and El Salvador. The point I'm making is that we cannot pretend that, it's happening to John and happening to Mary. Quack, 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 see this, see that. That is bad for us. And then we start feeling, well, that's not going to happen to me. And when it happens, there's no empathy or no support for the people who are not only victims, but the relatives who have to suffer loss. And then it's just disrespect to put a dead person on the social media anyway. So it's to cover the dead when you find them on the road. That's why when the takers come for the dead body at your house, they put them in a bag or they wrap them in a sheet and cover their face. It's called respect for the dead. Right? Yes, but this addiction we get into dead people and people with mutilation and want to show it. Do not put it on my social media. If you're with me, if you and I on Facebook or wherever we are together, do not post it. Okay? Because I want to tell you to take it down. It's not good for you, and it's not good for me, and it's not good for the family, and it's not good for anybody.
Definitely right? So. Definitely so. Well, we've come to the end, and that's all the time we have. I just want to say one thing before, something you mentioned, about helping our young people to make informed decision, and we're talking here to some of the parents, ensure that we can communicate and let our children know what is best for them, although sometimes they think they know what is best for them. A conversation is what is important. You see, because if we don't, and you mentioned the issue of dialysis just now, which is extremely costly. Now, here's what's going to happen. If as parents we don't do what we're supposed to do as it relates to imparting the right information and having those conversations, so that young girl who practically lived on a concol and a chubby, you know what's going to happen later on? She's going to get ill, and you would find yourself in a situation where you probably do not have the finances to take care of her, and then the next step is to start blaming the government.
Yes,
we start blaming
the government background.
We start blaming the government, and sometimes the government is not to be blamed. It is because of our carelessness. Carelessness. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond societies, each of us being our brother's keeper. Yes. There are some parents who don't have the skills or the knowledge to be able to impart information. There's some parents who behave worse than their children, okay, so they can't tell them anything. Indeed.
Right? And some
but these are the ones who blame government first, and saying government ain't doing nothing. When in fact, yes, you are the one that's not doing anything.
So we have to become good communities. We have to become good communities. We have to become villages again, where we all support each other, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's going to be in the church, whether it's going to be in the actual village, right? We are going to have to support. Unfortunately, I find that a lot of us parents just glad that my child doesn't do that. You don't see Mary child, that boy going to end up in jail. You go, that's not how we do it. Okay? We live in a social environment where you're in the middle, your family around you, the community where you live, school and work, right? The bigger community, and of course the policymakers. We all intimately integrated, related, and we all have to support each other. And I tell parents, if you don't know how to do it, go to school and ask teacher if she can help them. Ask somebody in the community, right? Don't cuss your children. It's not good for them anyway. Don't cuss our adolescents. We tell them a lot of negative things about themselves, and that's why they don't care and they do anything. We have to be a little more tolerant and remember that all of us walk that road.
Yes.
Don't you remember your mother telling you what you're aiming at? You don't shoot down already. Right? And those of us who are informed do have to support families instead of denigrating and glad that we're better off than them. We really need to support the families who don't have the capacity to manage the challenges that face them daily. You know?
Yes, indeed.
We are going to be,
and of course,
we're going to be an island of many men. No man is an island, but all of us together on this island are going to make up a very prosperous and forward-moving Grenada with, healthy people, right? Living by example. If you're not smoking weed in your house, your children are not going to smoke weed in your house. They wouldn't take the chance. Okay?
Exactly.
If there are things you're not doing, we have to lead by example as parents, right? Our young people are very precious. Remember, that's the next generation of parents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes,
right?
indeed.
So if they don't understand a sense of responsibility and seeking support and being able to maintain their health, which we're supposed to teach them, what's going to happen to their children?
Exactly.
And since we're such bad parents, are going to be worse grandparents anyway.
And we've seen it. It's before our eyes. We're seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, but the community is going to have to come together and support all young people.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too late. It's never too late to start to make a difference. Once you start.
I'll tell you how you say that. It's never too late for a shower of rain.
Well,
and I know all these Jamaicans.
Definitely.
It's never too late for a shower of rain.
Definitely.
It comes in whenever you need it. So.
Yeah, indeed. So, Doc, again, now, folks, I thank you all for staying with us. I really do hope that, some of the information you've taken it and, taken it seriously because down the line, I mean, maybe now many of us, we feel young, we feel great, we feel healthy. We don't get sick. We may have a little flu now and then, but all in all, we feel great. But the truth is, it's important to pay attention. Sometimes you just don't know what's happening inside there. So, as Doc always says, get screened, visit your doctor, go, do a check, and don't think going to a doctor and to get yourself checked and paying $100 is a lot. Because believe me, if you don't go and get checked, you may probably find yourself having to pay $730 something a week for dialysis or something else. You can visit Doc. She is at the Esplanade Mall. Yes, Esplanade Mall.
Bruce Street Mall.
I always, yes, and that's why I paused for a moment,
Upstairs again.
That's why I paused for a moment. I was hoping you would step in there and make sure that I'm correct. So at the Bruce Street Mall, right upstairs, Grenlec, you can visit Doc. She's there every day. Remember, she's here every Tuesday, but she's not in a position to diagnose you on the phone or on the program. We can share information, but you can visit her. She's there every day, Monday to Friday. Doc, yes. Are you there on Saturday?
Yeah, and Saturdays I go sometimes for people who work in a week, but I still have to wash my clothes and clean my house. So.
Yes, definitely. So Monday to Friday, she's there from around 9 to 5 in the afternoon. Go get yourself checked, do your screen, and of course, I don't have to tell you, you can talk to Doc. She will chat with you. Just as how we chat here, she's going to chat with you. That way, when you come from there, you have a good idea of what's going on with you. All right? Doc would not give you no kind of big medical and university terms that you can understand, and when you leave, you're more confused. No. When you leave there, believe me, you are going to have a good understanding of what is going on. You would know what to do and how to fix yourself. So go visit Doc upstairs at Bruce Street Mall, right upstairs Grenlec, and get a proper diagnosis. Don't wait until, you don't have to wait until your head's at to hurt you or you're getting a pain in your back or something happened. No. Go get checked. Doc, how was the saying? As teaching time saves 9. Yeah? Go get checked. A lot of the conditions that put us down can be fixed if they're discovered early. You hear that all the time. Prevented. Oh, yes, definitely. So go get checked, and if perchance there's anything we can. Did I say we? Did I say we, Doc? Did I say? I think I'm getting ahead of myself here.
No. We, all of us, if you go to the doctor, you will get checked. So hear me. And this is a very serious point. Our children get well care visits up to like 4, right? But after 4 or 5, before they go into primary school, they should have had all their vaccines and stuff, which is also a very important part. There has been a little fallback, parents. I want to remind the people who have grandchildren in foreign to tell them to get their polio and their measles shots, because there is polio and measles in New York. There are some children among us who don't have the capacity, who are not allowed to take vaccines. Please do not bring. We haven't had any measles here for 30 years, nor any polio. Please, I beg all you, ask your children to vaccinate their children. However, after the Well Child Clinic is finished, when you get to 4 or 5, before you go to primary school, we do not take our children to the doctor unless they have something. Your children need to have at least an annual check, especially adolescent children, because they're out there making decisions that are not necessarily very for themselves. So I'm going to ask parents, get accustomed to, in the holidays, in the summer, take the child to the clinic to get a checkup. Take it to whoever the primary, your pediatrician, your GP. Your children need to be seen, right? They need to get their worm medications. They need to be talked about their lifestyle. They need to be supported. They need to be taught. They're going to be independent people out there, but we need to teach them how to use that independence in positive ways, how to become involved in exercise and sports, how to be active, right? How to make nutrition decisions, right? Why is it that you have to get your shots? Because there's still some shots we get at 13 and 14 when we get our boosters, right? Why is it that you have to be careful who you keep as company? Okay? Why is it that you need to go to sleep? Why you shouldn't smoke? Why you shouldn't drink? Why you should eat healthy? I hate broccoli. That's what people say. But yeah, I hate it. Put some cheese on it. It tastes nicer, right? No, there are things we need to teach our children. Interpersonal relationships. Be able to speak out if there is sexual harassment, right, in the homes. To give them the opportunity to speak. I want us also to remember that among our children, we have the vulnerable, the children who have genetic and other learning disabilities, who have challenge, or children who don't have fully developed brains, who can't learn, or children with sickle cell, or children with Down syndrome, and other kids, children with cerebral palsy, children who are special, who have special needs, that we have to remember that they also need to be seen, because sometimes they do not know how to communicate the challenges they have. But parents must see their doctors, take the child to the clinic, make sure they're in the right weight, make sure they're given the proper nutrition, etc., etc. And sometimes you yourself need support that you can seek from when you go to your health center and to your doctor, right? Because your doctor and your nurse may see something that your child needs that you don't understand, okay? Because that has a disability or has some other illness does not mean that you don't have other illnesses. And of course, going to the dentist is very important. For children, they do prophylaxis. You can take your child to the dentist every 6 months to get cleaned. I know we put it on the thing. I don't remember that they put on like a wax over your teeth.
Yes.
What's called, right? That is to prevent cavities. Too many of our children still have cavities even these days, right? And of course, get your eyes checked. Treat yourself. Parents, I tell everybody, give your children some worm medicine, because it happens. You give them when Easter done. You give them when summer done after they eat all the mango and the foolishness and eat all kind of thing everywhere, and you give them after Easter, summer, and Christmas. That's treat that everybody in the family should get dewormed at that time.
Right.
Especially those of us who live in rural areas and our children run up and down and play and they pick up mango on the ground and they don't wash it, and that's understood. But teach them those habits. Please remember that a Burgic mango might just be eaten by a rat that has leptospirosis, which is fatal, which can make you dead. Right? So think about how we're going to make sure children are aware, because a child who goes to the doctor now, as a child, will continue to go to the doctor as an adult. A child who's obese now, however, overweight, severely overweight and obesity, will become an obese adult and will develop chronic diseases that we can prevent earlier. So what was in childhood can extend itself positively or negatively into later life. And we want to still see that of people living at 75 and 80 years old.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Doc. Thank you, folks, for staying with us. It was indeed a pleasure. Be sure to join us next Tuesday for another Doctor on Call. Don't forget, tomorrow evening at 8, we have a special program looking at the criminal procedure. Yes, the criminal procedure bill, amendment bill. Mr. Ferguson will be with us and hopefully another attorney at law. So be sure to join us for that at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening right here on K105 FM. We'll also engage you to get your questions and other contributions to the program. So that's tomorrow, 8 o'clock right here on K105 FM. Until then, do have a good night. All the best. Doctor and Call was brought to you with the kind compliments of Hills and Valley Pharmacy and Spice Isle Imaging Center.